Hey guys, in patch 8.0 the Bulwark will get the Thunder Hammer, and it actually does lay down some serious heretic whooping. I took this exact build and cleared absolute difficulty true solo on the public test server, and even if you're not a god tier player, I genuinely think this setup slaps. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go through the perk setup for the Bulwark block Thunder Hammer build. I do think the block hammer is the best hammer because the fencing hammer is just a little bit too slow, and now that intimidating aura works with block weapons, there's kind of no reason not to use the block weapon. The timing is a little bit harder, but I think the trade-off is worth it because the hammer is just kind of slow in general, so you definitely want that extra speed on the block hammer. So going for the perks, I think keeping intimidating aura is the move here. You can go with forward momentum, and I have tried it, but I just don't think it puts out as much damage as intimidating aura, especially because pommel smash can tend to be a little bit of a slow move sometimes. So you just get more value out of intimidating aura, sadly. And I did want the pommel smash build to work for me, but I still think intimidating aura is the way to go. Let me know if you disagree down in the comments, because I do think, maybe there is a case for that, but for me it's intimidating aura. Also because it's one of the most OP perks in the whole game. For the next column, Armor of Contempt doesn't seem to work if you don't have a shield, as far as I can tell. So that really only leaves us with scrambled targeting, because if you take shock and awe, you kind of have to take defensive advantage, and you don't really want to give up the armor reinforcement. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to just go for a full offensive build, but I just think armor reinforcement, even on a block weapon, it still gets a lot of value. So for me personally, I like to stick with scramble targeting and armor reinforcement, so that's how I run it. But if you just wanted to go all out and be a little more offensive and just try a fun meme build, then I would try this out. I'm not saying it would be like horrible or anything, but this is the way that I run it. And then for the team perk, you just pretty much have to stick with advanced conditioning. The 50% slower contested health fade is just one of the absolute best perks in the whole game, and especially when you're solo running, because sometimes it'll be a few moments before you have the opportunity to get your contested health back, and having that slower fade can really help you hold on to some of your contested health. And then for this column, I like to take the Purity of Purpose. I don't think Focus Strength works if you don't have a shield, so I just stick with Purity of Purpose. You can also do Rapid Regeneration. It does help to get your armor back faster, but Purity of Purpose kind of does some solid work now, even in absolute difficulty, and I find that if you set it down in a group of Majoris enemies, it can put like a few of them into the execute status, so I find it gets decent value. And then Invigorating Icon, kind of have to take that, it's still really good unless you're just really good at avoiding damage on Bulwark, so I still think it's the best perk in this column. And then not only that, but I did try a build with full-on pommel smash, so taking forward momentum and concussive force, and I just don't think that it gets enough value because the pommel smash just comes out kind of slowly, and it puts you at a disadvantage because you always need the pommel smash to get your combo going, and I just don't think that it works very well, and I think you just get a lot more damage out just going the old standard build, and the survivability that you give up losing Invigorating Icon is just not really worth it. And I did want this build to be good, but I think it would have needed to be an even crazier bonus in my opinion. But if you've found a way to get this to work in high level difficulty runs like true solo hard mode siege mode or true solo absolute runs, let me know, because that's where I was trying it and I didn't find it work well. And then I do find in this column, I find Merciless Resolve is actually pretty good because it always helps to get a little bit of bonus damage, and you do pommel smash from time to time, so it's not like you never do it. and it's just an easy way to get a little bonus, so I like taking this one here. And then for the signature perk, Armored Advance is just insanely good, especially with the Thunderhammer in particular, because the Thunderhammer playstyle, you end up trading hits with enemies a lot because your hits do more damage, but they take a long time to swing or charge up. So you need to be able to just hyper armor through their attacks, and Armored Advance really helps with that. You could maybe get away with not using it if you went for defensive mastery and then took the perk where you can charge up Aftershock and not get knocked around, but for me, I think it's just easier to keep it on Armored Advance, because then not only is it not only when you're charging up Aftershock, but a lot more than that, you know, anytime you have armor. And then for the prestige perks, Auxiliary Reload, that really helps with keeping ammo. Overcharge helps with the charged attack damage. Powerful Shot, the 20% bonus damage really helps. And then for this last one here, you can either take Resilience or Standard Bearer. I was messing around with Resilience for my Pommel Smash build because I wasn't using Invigorating Icon anymore. But when I do take Invigorating Icon, I like to take Standard Bearer because it kind of guarantees that you can get the flag down, because sometimes the flag has a little bit of a delay for the animation to happen, and you can actually get hit during that time when you're trying to put it down. And having Standard Bearer just gives you like a little bit more of a guarantee that you're going to be able to get your flag down in clutch moments. And then for the hammer perks, I did try a few different builds with the hammer, and they both have some strong points and some drawbacks. So I found when I was just running straight across the top here, you do get the bonus 10% on Majoris enemies and the 15% on extremists. So you do hit harder on your first initial hit, but you don't get the additional area of effect or the additional smashes from the Aftershock or the Ground Slam. And so what I found is when you're going across the top build, it can be difficult to chase some Majoris enemies down, like snipers or spike shooters who are constantly trying to back away from you, because you don't have the increased AoE, so they might back away too far by the time your attack actually goes through. And then one good thing about the bottom build is if you get the extra smashes, you actually move forward a little bit while you're smashing, and so you have a better chance to kind of like chase them down as you're attacking. And so I do find if you're having trouble landing your hammer attacks, it's actually better to go across the bottom row, but you do lose a little bit of damage because you're not getting the 15% bonus. And another big drawback is I found that when I was constantly committing to double smashing, whether it was ground slams or aftershocks, you can get animation locked where you're stuck in your attack animation, and you can get grabbed by Raveners or Lictors. So you have to be really careful about when you commit to doing like long attack strings with the hammer, because it can actually get you killed a lot of the time. So that's kind of why I came up with this hybrid build, where I'm still getting a little bit of the bonus damage, and then I'm still getting the Aftershock additional smash, and then I really wanted to come down here for the 50% bonus damage on the Pommel Smash, because I was trying out the Pommel Smash build. But I think even if I wasn't doing all the Pommel Smash perks and I was gonna still take Invigorating Icon, I would probably still leave it on this build, or I would go all across the bottom row because it is better for chasing enemies down. But both builds are totally viable. You can go totally across the top row, or you can go totally across the bottom, or do kind of a hybrid. They're all actually really good. It just depends on more of what you want, you know, whether you want to take more risk and have an easier time chasing enemies down and, you know, getting some bonus damage off from some extra smashes, or if you find you're good at positioning and you're not having trouble chasing enemies down, just get one really hard attack on the top row. So it's really up to you. I found that you don't need to take brace preparation if you have armored advance, because you already have enough resistance to knock back, so it's kind of just a wasted perk. And then for the heavy bolt pistol, you could almost get away with taking the more accurate or the more damage version if you take the prestige perk that gives you ammo back on extremist kills, but I found that it still wasn't quite enough ammo, so for me I had to stick with the more ammo variant. But maybe if you were really conservative with your shots, you could make one of these ones work. So I went more ammo variant, and then I just did the standard kind of heavy bolt pistol build here. This is the best one. This is the one that everybody does. If you're having trouble hitting those headshots, you can just go with the Divine Might. Let me know if you guys would like to see the whole true solo absolute block hammer run that I did. Maybe I'll do some commentary on that. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it for me. And if you've been enjoying the content, consider subscribing. It really does help the channel. Hopefully we can make it to 2,000 subs this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you haven't seen my block versus fencing video, it should be popping up right about now. Check that out. That was a good one.